going on, everyone? Ghost here, talking some baseball because we are less than a week away from the actual start of baseball season. First of all, it's about time. It's been, this is a sport that I passionately love the most out of all the major sports because I grew up playing baseball as a kid, and it's been the one I've just liked the longest. And last November, I had to commit baseball suicide because of what happened and who won the World Series. The rival San Francisco Giants. That hurt. Definitely deep inside, because here on campus, you could watch that video I did back a while back when I walked around campus after they won, but it was really painful for me because I'm right here in a Giants territory, just where I go to school, and I'm outnumbered by at least a 7-to-1 ratio of Giants fans here. The single A ball club for the Giants is here. Buster Posey, Tim Lincecum, those guys started their careers as a San Jose Giant, so there you have it. But going on, talking about the Oakland A's. This is a team where I'm going to be expecting a lot more. This team finished 81-81 last year. Kind of ironic, the Oakland Raiders. Both teams finished 500 in Oakland from the Coliseum. The A's, the reason why they didn't contend maybe enough was because of the injuries. The biggest, they started very well last year. If you remember the way they started the season, it was because everybody was healthy. Whether it was the pitching, whether it was the fielding, everyone was healthy, and it was huge. Then all of a sudden, Brett Anderson goes down, and that's a blow. Coco Crisp was not healthy. Just a lot of this team is lacking health. The bullpen, Andrew Bailey, of course, we know he's currently hurt, but luckily it's not seriously career-ending like we thought it would be. But the pitching kept us alive, and we were able to win those close games, those low-scoring games, to go 81-81 last year and finish even ahead of the Angels in the standings. There weren't much expectations. We really had nothing to lose. It's just we couldn't get hot during that September time because of all the injuries that piled up. We used the disabled list at least 20-plus times last year. But this year, there's expectations because Billy Beane built this team for this season. Why? You might say I'm crazy, but there is reason for us to contend in this division. Why? Because our division rivals went down, and our pitching can keep us alive. The Oakland A's pitching staff ranked number 1 in ERA last year in the majors. And, number 1 is number 1. The starters, Trevor Cahill, Gio Gonzalez, Brett Anderson, and even Dallas Braden. Those four had an ERA of a 3.5 or below last year, which was huge. They had a big streak and stretch where they would allow 1 or 2 runs or less with a 6-inning span at minimum throughout the months of August and July. But the hitting. Of course, the hitting was atrocious last year. Billy Beane tried to make some upgrades with what he could. No, we did not sign Adrian Beltre because that's a stupid fat contract he got in Texas. Lance Berkman is past his prime. There was really no hitters in this free agency class to pick up. So what did we do instead? We went for cheaper options and get the best of what we could. We gave up Vin Mazzaro for David DeJesus. We have still Coco Crisp on the lineup, and then we traded for Josh Willingham, a guy from the Nationals and once on the Marlins as well, a power hitter. So your outfield is Willingham, Crisp, DeJesus. Those 3 will be in the outfield. DeJesus was one of the best hitters on the Royals. And then on the infield, you got Derek Barton, Mark Ellis, who we picked up his option, which is good. Cliff Pennington, who's very iffy in fielding but can hit okay. And then Kevin Kuzminoff, who's there for defense as well. His hitting has been kind of questionable and rather terrible for most compared to his standards. He didn't provide the power bat we were looking for. Then lastly, you got Kurt Suzuki at catcher. He's locked up long term. So Willingham should provide power hitting, and David DeJesus should be complacent in the outfield as well. But are we going to win those close games, and is the pitching going to keep us alive? It better, because pitching is the only way that's going to be a reason for us to contend in this AL West division. You might say they're trying to be the Giants of last year by pitching and mediocre journeyman hitting. You can argue that. The Giants hitting last year, a lot of those guys were not exactly high profile outside of maybe Buster Posey, and I know there were a couple others too, but won't go too deep into the Giants. Going on though with the A's pitching, I expect Trevor Cahill Brett Anderson, hopefully stay healthy. I expect a breakout season from Brett Anderson, barring his health. And then, of course, Gio Gonzalez, who he was the guy we picked up when we traded Nick Swisher, which he's not even on the White Sox anymore. Dallas Braden should be the fourth guy. He does his job despite his records, and I know he's well known for pitching a perfect game and arguing with Alex Rodriguez. Lastly, Brandon McCarthy will be the fifth guy in the lineup, most likely. That was a big battle between Kramer, Josh Outman, Rich Harden. A lot of interesting battles for the last pitching spot, and I think McCarthy's going to earn it, an injury-prone guy, but the pitching is going to carry us, and I'm expecting at least a winning record this year. Really hope to see some contending. The bullpen, forgot to mention the bullpen, we made some upgrades. Grant Balfour and Brian Fuentes. Those are the two guys we signed from the bullpen. You know, those who say we don't spend, shut up. We spent on Hideki Matsui, which is about $6.5 million, and spent $5 million on a year for both Fuentes and Balfour, who actually have 2 and 3 years deals. So we won the bid to get Hisashi Iwakuma, but we declined the contract. Maybe it was a move of defense so that the Angels or another team could try to get Iwakuma. But we basically turned him down because he was asking for Barry Zito money, which there's no way we're going to pay an unproven guy that kind of money. So we used that money on our bullpen. So since Andrew Bailey's hurt, I expect Fuentes to play the closer role well. He did pretty well for the Angels and the Rockies in the past. Back on the bench, you got Ryan Sweeney in the outfield. I'm expecting a little more from him power-wise. All he did was hit 300, but kind of an empty 300. And then on the infield, I'll probably have Eric Sogard, who is a farm guy, as well as a little bit of Adam Rosales when he returns. So that's who I'll be expecting. Chris Carter and Michael Taylor. Those are the two guys we need to hopefully see call up later in the year. They need to break out in AAA, or else some of the trades we made may not look good. You know, Michael Taylor is the key guy. With the Matt Holliday thing and all the trades that we made, Michael Taylor is the key person from that deal. If he doesn't pan out, then that trade is looking really foolish. That's all I can say about that. Chris Carter was in the Dan Herron deal along with Brett Anderson, who was in our starting lineup. So going on, talking about our rivals a little bit, you know, Seattle has some quality pitching, but they don't have any offense outside of Ichiro Suzuki. They're not expected to do so well, but they have some pitching, so look out for that competitiveness. The Angels made some upgrades, supposedly getting Vernon Wells for fat contracts, but I'm not sold on their bullpen. And also, some of their hitting was horrible. You might say Kendrys Morales was out, and yeah, I know that hurt them, but still, their hitting definitely regressed. They have a starting pitching, but I'm not sold on their bullpen. They could very well, you know, win the division, as they're probably expected to by the magazines. Then you got the Texas Rangers, a team that lost Cliff Lee, still had some respectable pitching without him. Guys like Felden and C.J. Wilson, very respectable pitching, I think, actually. And the hitters' ballpark, they have that to their advantage. But there's just been some drama with Michael Young, I know, throughout the offseason. And now they have Adrian Beltre, which they signed a really fat contract on him. So I think it'll be a 3-team race. Angels, A's, Rangers, the West. Really looking forward to seeing the pitching, though, and seeing how good this A's pitching will be. And if everything doesn't work out, and say our hitting sucks and things are not working out, 5 of the guys will be free agents next year, and we can just refire with different free agents, hopefully a better class. A lot of contracts will go off the books from our starting 9. So I'm expecting a lot of things from the A's this year. Going on to some brief predictions on the rest of the divisions. Central, I have the Detroit Tigers winning the Central. It's kind of up in the air, that division. The Twins are probably favored, but I just like to go out of the blue and random, so the Tigers. I expect the White Sox to maybe contend. And then in the East, I have Boston, and I think I have the Yankees in the wild card, but I expect Boston to win the division with what they got. They should be loaded. There's no excuses. I know they had injuries last year, but Boston is loaded. the Rays could still contend, but I know they lost a share. But going on to the National League, some brief talks. The NL East, I have the Phillies and Braves, respectively. I think the Phillies will win the division again with the pitching staff they got. They'll dominate the regular season for sure. But then I have the Braves winning the wild card, just like last year. I just called, those were the two I got right. In the Central, I was wrong on the Cardinals. I said the Reds would contend, and they won the division. Hell, this division is pretty much up for grabs. I'm gonna pick the Reds this time. Not by a whole lot, because I know Johnny Cueto was out, but the Cardinals losing Adam Wainwright definitely hurts. And potentially, I don't know who can contend. If Zach Greinke can get healthy for the Brewers, they have a nice pitching staff, so you never know in the Central. Going on to the NL West, there's no excuse for the Giants to blow it. They have that pitching staff still locked up. They might not have the same bats, or some of the same bats like last year, but I expect the Giants to win that division. Just like I said last year, they'd win that division. Maybe some contention. The Dodgers have some starting pitching. They have no bullpen, and that Uribe contract is really ridiculous. The Giants fans don't fret about Uribe. He's not going to do much for the Dodgers. And then their hitting was cold last year, but they have starting pitching. Rockies, I'm not sold on. The D-backs are still, they had a clean house last year. They're still rebuilding. The Padres have some pitching, but I don't know about the hitting, and you never know if those prospects come up. I know they traded Adrian Gonzalez, but in the World Series, I have the Giants. I think the Giants are going to actually own, because they match up well with the Phillies, despite what the Phillies' starting pitching is. They may own the regular season, the Phillies, but I have the Giants beating the Phillies head-to-head in the playoffs. And on the American League side, I actually have the Boston Red Sox, because I said they were loaded. So I have the Red Sox and the Giants, and I hope I'm wrong, because that's a lose-lose for me as an A's fan. I lose either way, and that's unfortunate. But for the A's, I'm expecting some bright things to come. And if things don't work out, and that loss of Kurt Young really hurts now that he's in Boston, I want Bob Guerin fired. If we have a losing record by the end of May, if we have a losing record, Bob Guerin needs to go. That's simple enough. Unfortunately, Billy Beane and him are good friends, but I'm expecting a lot from this A's team, and I really think they can contend for the AL West if they're healthy, because health last year was brutal. If they're healthy throughout a lot of the season, then I think we have a really good shot to do something special this year. So let's go Oakland. Whether it's the A's or Raiders, let's go Oakland. And as always, I'm an A's fan for life. It's been hard, especially because I can't talk baseball this whole offseason. But finally I can talk again. I'll be at 3 games this year for sure. Next time I talk about the A's will be during the All-Star break, or unless a big trade or deal happens. So see you guys later, and let's go A's.